First Ezra 4:38. As for truth, it endureth, and is always strong. It liveth and conquereth forevermore. Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathens that look like those heathens. This is not a black thing. And to the few akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And what we're focusing on is the Moors, the Morranos, the Spanish Morranos, the Spanish Jews, all right, and the Sephardim, and going to prove to you unequivocally that they were so-called black people, and there was a hijack of their history. And I got to give respect where respect is due to their brother Cootie Merrill. He's the one that did a lesson going into this book. I'm just going to go a bit more into the scriptural aspect of, and the connections to the Bible and the information in this book. And I found this book on Amazon. I'm going to try to order it, then kind of short on the money. So they want $70 for that book, but it's worth having. The information in this book is irrefutable, and it proves the fact of what we've been saying all along. All right, because as I begin to read, you find out that the people, the Edomites, who referred to themselves as Ashkenazi Jews, who were the converts from the 6th century, all right, they began coming to America in the 1830s and pretty much taking over with these Sephardim, who were Moors and Morranos, all right, both crypto Jews, secret Jews, and worshiping Islam, who actually helped set up America. And I've often told you that the Moors and the Morranos, who also were what you refer to as Huguenots, were some of the biggest race traders, because yes, they did own slave plantations, and yes, they did help forward the oppression of our own people. All right, but not out of Africa. They did it out of America. All right, that's Esau Edom tries to push that black and African narrative. All right, that the so-called Negroes, so-called Negroes, and and Africans are two different people, and Africans have never been referred to as Negroes. All right, as a matter of fact, that term Negro was actually applied to Native Americans, copper-colored, brown-fleshed Native Americans. All right, and they grouped them together along with the Negroes. With the so-called blacks in 1882, in a year after the so-called white man self-proclaimed himself white in 1881, both in Virginia. Those were two acts that were done. In 1881, he wrote into law and created this new portion of humanity that's called white people. And then he combined a lot of the natives and a lot of the so-called blacks and came with that term Negro, all right? And a lot of natives were then put into slavery and referred to as Negroes, which hence comes that confusion. Because there's a lot of so-called Negroes in America that are walking around these major cities, and they were not directly descendants from the people who came over on the boats from Africa. They were descendants of the Israelites that were already here, all right? And so they've always tried to keep that separation between the northern and the southern kingdom, but in these last days, it's coming together. So, as a matter of fact, I mentioned black and Negro. Let's look up and go to the Winston Simplified 1925 dictionary. I'm holding the the book that you're looking at. I'm holding it in my hand. That very book, the 1925. So I'm going to show all the sources of what I'm reading. All right, and this is on page 61. Blackamoor, all right, a Negro, especially an African Negro. See, they added that. All right, because when you look up Moor Moreno in the etymology online, and it's important that we talk about those words before I begin reading. So here's the etymology online. We just have to show continually that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is a liar. Right? Matter of fact, before I look it up, let's get Deuteronomy 33:29. And it reads, Happy art thou, Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemy shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. All right. So the so-called white man is a liar, and now he's putting you in a position where when you point out that he's a liar, he's calling you a terrorist now. And you have to understand that his whole rulership and his power and his banking system and his wealth and his riches were all it's all built and based upon lies, fraud, murder, rape, and robbery. He's ruling illegitimately, and then he set himself up to be judge, and speaking the truth about history or anything relating to him threatens his power structure. Okay, when you see them, to the point to where he's now extending power out of America, away from the Constitution, and into the hands of NATO members and other entities. All right, because they don't like the fact that certain citizens are cleaving on to you. You push this stand up for the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance and all this, and the pledge to the flag and to the Constitution, the law of the land, but yet the people up top violate it every day. And when you point it out, they call you a conspiracy theorist or the T word. But nevertheless, here's the word Morano. All right, and let's go ahead and zoom in on it, and it reads Morano. A Morano is a Jew or a Moor in Spain. All right, so we know that a Moor is telling you that this is a black Jew. All right, because Moor is a German word which means black. Anyone can look that up. All right, and these people were driven in all different directions. Some of them, and many of them, they became the Huguenots. They went to France. They went to other parts of Europe. They came to America and helped set up the colonies and all matter of things. All right. And some of them actually ended up and went to the west coast of Africa and did business with their people there. And some of them actually ended up in slavery, right along with the rest of Judah. All right, because you got to remember, their Judites had not only were they in Portugal and Spain, they were in different parts of Europe, and they were all along the west coast of Africa. All right, here in the I didn't put it up on the screen, but I'm holding Babylon from Timbuktu. All right, let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm holding Babylon from Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. All right. And it said, and it's the history of the black races, including the black Hebrews. Well, to say black and Hebrew was redundant. They were a melanated people, and they're only using the word black because they remember in many lessons before they replaced the word swarthy with black. Remember Benjamin Franklin's letter and the importance of it in 1751. They didn't refer to Africans as black at that time. They referred to them as swarthy or tawny. They referred to natives and brown-skinned people as swarthy or tawny. Tawny being the lighter-skinned brown people, and swarthy being the darker-complected brown people. Because there's no such thing as black. They made it up. No one's skin is actually black, no matter how dark they are. They're still, chocolate is brown. Right? The darkest chocolate is still brown. But in this book, Rudolph R. Windsor, which I'm going to have to read this book again, because there's a lot of history in here about other things too that we tend to forget about. But on page 84, in the second paragraph, it reads, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. All right, and it wasn't a Jewish state, it was an Israelite state. It was a kingdom of Judea, which basically made up the three tribes of Benjamin, Judah, and what was left of Levi. All right, because some of the Levites were also with the northern kingdom. Remember, the Levites there were a few of them, that were among all the tribes, and when the split came, many of them went back to Judah. So it was a huge amount of Levites that were with Judah. All right, because Jeroboam split, and when the northern kingdom set up, they set up their own priests and got rid of the Levites. So many of the Levites came back and dwelled with the house of Judah. All right. But it says, and I'll start it again, this paragraph. In the year 65 BC, the Romans under the General Pompey, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem in 70 AD. General Vespasian and his son, Titus, put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it was estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery, and slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. All right? They weren't Jewish, they were Israelites. All right? There is no 12 tribes of Jewish. Abraham was not a Jew. Isaac was not a Jew. Jacob was not a Jew. All right? Jew is actually related to the one tribe of Judah. You cannot call a Reubenite a Jewish. You cannot call an Issacharite a Zebulun or Dan or any of the other tribes for that matter. You can't call them Jewish. All right? The Jewish were the white people who converted under John Hyrcanus. All right? And then they converted a second time in the 6th century, and that's your secular group of people who will refer to themselves as Ashkenazi Jews. Basically, we're going to read that. All right? And they pretty much, when the Sephardic Jews, who were these very Jews that you're looking at on the screen, these Morranos, who were run out of Spain and Portugal when it fell, right? Because you remember, Europe was ruled for 1,000 years by so-called black people. They tried to cover that history up. But all you have to do is look into the Moors and Morranos of Portugal and Spain, and you see that their rule went all the way back to the 7th century. It actually went back further than that. All right? Constantine and all those were Israelites. Okay? Matter of fact, I'm going to read Deuteronomy 24 and 68. And Yahweh, the Lord, shall scatter thee among all people. How we tell you, this is not a black thing. We got scattered among all people. And among those people where our seed still survived, our people now look like those people. As long as you have the male men and that line survives. Okay, so that not everybody's going to look black anymore. It's not a black Hebrew Israelite, as they like to say. That's them trying to control the narrative. All right? Though the darkness of flesh is an indicator but not a definite. All right? Because you got chocolate Edomites. You have Edomites whose mother was a so-called black woman, a so-called Indian woman, a so-called Hawaiian, a Japanese, or a woman of color. All right? And their father is a Edomite, and they come out looking like their mother's people. All right? And there's millions of black people running around like that today here in America. All right? You remember this, the so-called white man could rape you with impunity every day. He would get his rocks off on some poor young girl. A lot of babies were born and came out brown skin, all right, or light skin, or even super dark chocolate like their moms. But they're from the bloodline, the seed line, the sperm of a so-called white man. Okay? But it says, and the Lord will scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou nor thy fathers have known, even of wood and stone. So all them statues of stone of a carved in the image of a pale, thin-lipped, straight-nosed man with stringy shoulder-length hair, that's the fraud. All right, that will be Cesare Borgia, and our people fell for the okie doke. All right, so it's important to read all these because this is definitely going to be a multiple-part video. All right, so now we're going to begin to read some of. Like I said, I'm going to try to get this book, try to order it next week or the week after. All right, but the Sephardim in Americas, which is because it's on PDF, but I actually want the book. All right, it's 105 pages. You can actually see it. And it was put together in 1993 by Peck Abram J. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. It won't focus on it. Well, it was put together by Cohen. Oh, well, you can see it over here. Slaki, you can see it over here. I just realized. Let me get my pointer. It's right here. I was trying to read it on there, but it's right here. You can see it. All right, so you can see all the credentials of the people who wrote it. All right, and so you got Abram J, Peck Abram J, PhD, and Cohen Martin A. All right, or Martin A. Cohen, the Sephardim in America Studies Culture History, 1993, faculty staff, alumni books. All right, so there it is. So I'm gonna begin to read from some of that book. And as the brother Cootie Merrill, the Northern Kingdom brother, says, dodge the hijack. You know, hijack is basically what he means by that when he says that. And brother, you know, I hope you don't mind that I borrow that. That's saying I kind of like that phrase. But dodging a hijack is basically when they write themselves into our history. All right. And so that's what we're doing. We're dodging a hijack because they're calling themselves Jewish, and we're letting them know we're the Israelites. All right. And only the tribe of Judah, you know, that's it. Because Jewish is referring to Jews. Remember the very name Ish, the suffix Ish means to be like. Okay. As a matter of fact, I was going to grab another scripture. Let me grab that. Oh, I read it. That Deuteronomy 33:29. If they're liars, they've been found to be liars. So let's go ahead and start reading some of this PDF. All right. And I have I screenshot it. I got a lot of images. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 of them. So I'm probably going to read like the first 5 or 6. All right. And make some commentary, bring out some scripture. And then I will read the other 5 or 6 in the video to follow. But the Sephardim in Americas by Martin A. Cohen, guest editor. All right. Introduction. It said the year 1992 in an observance of Columbus quincentenary marks a special moment in history. Let me turn this sideways. Maybe it's bigger. Yeah, I can see it better. Marks a special moment in history of the American Jewish experience. For a brief time, a historical spotlight will be able to shine on a group of American Jews, those whose ancestors left Spain about the same time Columbus undertook his journey of discovery. That would go back to this. All right. These Morranos, a Jew or more. So we've already established what a Jew and what a Morrano, which is basically the Spanish way of saying Moor, someone who is black. They still use that term today. Moreno, Morena. All right. They got Spanish songs about the Moreno and the Morena. All right. A Jew or more in Spain. So once again, like the brother says, dodge the hijack. Okay, so they're not telling you this part because they could have put Morranos or Moors here, but they didn't. Okay, they said that the group of Jews whose ancestors left Spain about the same time of Columbus undertook his journey of discovery, and while the mainstream America will celebrate the 500th anniversary of Cristobal Colon, his real name, and they're gonna mention that too. Discovery of the New World, the same group of American Jews, the Sephardim, will shed tears on nearly 2,000 Spanish Jews who were expelled in 1492. 200,000 were expelled in 1492 from the country. Indeed, the research in American Jewish history has shown that the first significant Jewish immigrants to this country were of those Jews and from the West Indies and to Europe who trace their roots. Going to the next one now. Back to the Sephardim. Christopher Columbus, discovery of the New World, the same group of American Jews, Sephardims. Hold on, Salakia. Indeed, the research, I read something twice. Indeed, research in American Jewish history has shown that the first significant Jewish immigrants to this country to the hemisphere were Jews from West Indies and Europe who traced their ancestry to the Jewish communities of Spain and Portugal. These Moors and Morranos. You see the power of this? Of what we're reading? It says the Sephardim, as identified themselves according to their prayer ritual, dominated the religious, social, economic life of American Jewry during the colonial and early federal periods. By the 1830s, however, they were overwhelmed in numbers by a substantial immigration of Jews from German-speaking Central Europe. All right. So these new German-speaking Jews were the Ashkenazi Edomite white men who were converts, going all the way back to Kagan Bullam. All right, back to the history that Arthur Koestler had documented. Okay, German Jews soon developed much of the institutional framework that would serve as the foundation for future Jewish community. The early Sephardic community soon became a part of the American Jewish myth. Why? Because they got reclassified as blacks and mixed in with the population. Most of their wealth was taken. All right, we saw the movie. They like we said, they were the Huguenots and and helped set up the colonies. That's why they were here, and they weren't slaves; they were freedmen. But many of them, you saw the movie 12 Years a Slave. What is named Northup. Northup was one of these very Huguenots, Moorish Sephardic Jews that we're talking about. All right. They were viewed as the grandees of American Jewish society, the aristocrat, acculturated group that has now but all vanished in American Jewry of the 20th century. In the years between 1881 and 1924, over 2 million Jews from Eastern Europe reached these shores and became the dominant force in American Jewish life. And that's what Esau Edom does. He hijacked country. He hijacked cowboy. He hijacked the rhythm and blues. He hijacked rock and roll. He hijacked hip hop. He that's what he does. All right, that's been his MO. He hijacked the Greekist culture, called themselves Grecians. Hijacked the Roman culture. Hijacked the Spartan culture. Hijacked the Brits. Hijacked the Irish. This is what he does. All right, and then he gets mad when you point it out, when history points it out, and I'm sharing that history with you, and I'm showing you where you can get it from. All right, okay, because here, Othello, the Moor of Venice, William Shakespeare. The beginning of the lesson we read about what a Moor, and then it wasn't a blackamoor. They put the blackamoor on there. But when you go to the Etymon online, they didn't have to, because Moor already means black. You put black in front of it, it's you saying black. Moor is a German word which means black. Just like swarthy, which also is closely connected to the word Swartz in Yiddish, or Swartzy. All right? You see the connection to all these words? So let's go back to Othello the Moor. Okay? Because just like Elder Bishop, not the Elder Bishop, but the Elder Apostle Tahar, when he talks about Othello, he made it very clear that this wasn't about a Muslim with the Christian, a black man with a white woman. All right? Because at this time in Venice, the Moors were ruling. He was a Duke of Venice. Why would a white man, if William Shakespeare was a white man, why would he write a story about a black man sexing up a white Christian woman in the 1400s, 1500s? Think about that. Somebody has lied. This was about two swarthy people, Swartz, all right, and one was clinging on to Islam, and the other one was clinging on to the Bible. Probably even a secret or a crypto Jew, because many of the Israelites, the Sephardim, were hiding behind Christianity, but secretly being Jews. That's what this definition goes back to. All right, that's what this definition is all about. All right, publicly look at the definition. A Jew or more in Spain, to avoid persecution, publicly profess the conversion to Christianity while privately continue to practice and beliefs of their old religion, following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. All right. So with that, we're going to end part 2. We're going to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, and see you in part 2. This is the end of part 1. Shalom, Kwam Yasharallah, Abba Baba.